What's up, guys? So in-depth deck profile won the poll, so we're going to start that pretty soon here. A few things to talk about quick. First, if you wanted the short and sweet version, just skip to the end of the video. It's really that simple. You'll see the list, probably have a few questions, come back here and end up watching it anyway. But before we start, if you like the replays we've been doing, or if you just want good content mostly related to Cyber Dragons, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Also, if you want to play in prize tournaments similar to the ones I'm showing you guys, or in a weekly free local, if you will, air quotations for those who could not see it, so all of you, click the link down below and join Nerd Knights Gaming. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into the deck profile. So starting out, we're going to go with our Cyber Core, if you will. For me, this involves just one copy of our Cyber Dragon. A handful of reasons which we'll kind of talk throughout the video about. We'll throw some percentages and numbers out there, and this isn't to say you can't play dupe or shouldn't play dupe. It's just saying that I prefer not to play dupe, and I have seen far greater success, and I have won a lot more online tournaments and locals before COVID hit with one Cyber Dragon. The deck's just more consistent, stops your opponent from playing the game really for the most part, and then we can OTK off 2 cards rather easy, especially when you open 3 hand traps and shut them right down, and then you just OTK them on your turn, or you put yourself in a really good position to control the pace. One Cyber Dragon though, best normal summon we have, our only true real starter, Cyber Dragon Core, so we're going to play 3 of him. 3 hurts because he's arguably the best extender we have, helps in the grind game a lot. Becoming a level 5 doesn't really come up too often, but it is an option to have there. Graveyard effect of Core is ridiculous, it's broken. 2 Naxters. We're not playing dupe, so I really don't see a need for a third. It helps push for your OTKs, and you can come back late game because of it. Summoning it from the deck via Core is really, really good also. 2 Cyber Dragon Fear. Yeah, 2 Fear. We had a poll up in the group, and 2 actually was the least popular option. 1 being the most by a landslide, and then 0 being second. So if you guys saw the replays, I did use it a couple of times, and I'm going to be showing more replays where I am actually using it. We do have another cool play which we'll talk about later in the video, but it's got a lot of neat little interactions aside from being a level for overflow and a free body for your link plays, for your climbing, stuff like that. You can set it and they attack it, flip it face up. It's a 2100 defense beat stick. I guess beat stick's the wrong term. It's a 2100 wall that you can normal summon set. But Core's effect resolving a lot of times can determine if you're going to win or lose a game. So you normally your Core, you chain your Fear, you chain block it, especially in a format with 247 negate boards. It's a great option to have, I guess. Like I said, Core resolving is really, really key for the deck and so important. I can't stress it enough. Plus, it's also a really easy side out. You can side out 1 or 2. I side out 1 pretty much every time unless I know already and have the hand traps to just flip-flop between. But otherwise, I really like it because it's, like I said, it's one of our few easy side outs. Siding is one of the harder things a lot of the time with the deck. So having free options like that are really good. The next card we're going to talk about, we're not going to type its first name out because then we use the X key just like yesterday, and I will turn the video off because that's my hotkey to shut off the video. So I talked to myself for about half an hour yesterday, and it was kind of irritating when I found out. 3 Galaxy Soldiers though, along with hers, it's one of our better extenders. It goes with hers really, really well, ironically. You want to open it. The more and more people too, I've been having them negate when you summon it, and they'll like impermanent or Veiler it. And if you only play 2, that's kind of an issue because now you have a brick in the deck. And I mean, there's ways to put it back. Repair Plant can shuffle 1 back, and then we'll search this one out of your deck, then shuffle the other one back to keep the combo live. But it's not really ideal. So playing it like this, and you just want to see it all the time. That's really the biggest thing about it. Going back to our Cyber cards, because this is just an honorary one. That's it for our core of the deck with our monsters. We could argue the Kaiju, which we will have a Kaiju in there, but we're going to talk about him a little bit later. So 3 Repair Plant, or we might as well, or sorry, 3 Emergency. It's basically Cyber Rhoda. It's searching out any of our Cyber Dragon monsters. Why wouldn't you want to play it? 2 Repair Plant, another one. It searches out all of them and our soldiers, our kaiju, stuff like that. So we're playing the 2, especially with All Mirage. The needing one in the grave is really not bad whatsoever. It's another one of those cards where you can easily side one of them out and not even think about it. Moving forward, so I guess we'll wait on that here for a second till we're done with our Cybercore. Our fusion spell, we're going to play the 1 Overload Fusion after we're done with our core, which we're about to be here. We'll talk about it and explain a few things. So 2 Overflow, it's an amazing card. It can search, it can pop, there's no cost. But this is my core for the deck, and let's talk about why. Notable things you're going to notice, there's no Rev System or Cyberload Fusion. So with both of those cards, Cyberload was way harder to cut than Rev. And part of me at times still wants to have it in the deck. But both of them cards, I was never searching them out. Like, just never. I might put a Cyberload in for when you're going first and you want to search it out and set it with your Overflow. Set that too versus like Altergeist or a back row deck. So it might become a side option for me. I'm undecided on that at the moment. But Rev and Cyberload, they're 2 cards that I never wanted to search. And whenever I saw them in my hand, I always wished they were something else. So to me, when a card, you don't want to search it when you can, and you want it to be something else when you see it, to me that just screams don't be playing it. The other thing is no machine dupe. So going first, you want Infinity, some hand traps, maybe an Overflow. Like between hand traps and Overflow, you want at least 2, so 3 disruptions total. Just off 2 cards, we have a 56% chance to open Infinity with these extenders. That's why we're maxed out on hers, Soldier, our emergencies, and I consider 2 Repair Plant maxed out because 3 gets clunky and bricky, especially with them being once per turns. So I do consider 2 basically the max because that's the most you should be playing, 1 or 2. But so first throwing it out there, machine dupe would make the percentage higher. That's obviously it's an extender. It's an extender. So machine dupe would make your going first turn 1 board, the percentages go up, but at the same time it makes the potential for dead hands and bricking mid and late game also going up, which that's what we were trying to cut down on. We want the deck to keep performing early, mid, and late game, not just be super explosive and then potentially bricky and dying off late game. Not opening a dupe target isn't really your concern because that's only a 15% chance, so it's not going to happen very often. But opening 2 CYBERDRAGONs, because if you open 1, it's not really that bricky, although usually you wish it would be something else anyway, so it's not ideal still. But if you open 2, there's a 5% chance that that'll happen going second. So 5% and 15%, you're already up to a 20% chance of not opening very well. At least here, if we don't open one of our babies, which we're actually playing the 2 Fierce, so it's a little bit higher. But if you don't open any of your babies or your emergency or a way to put one in the graveyard and search with Repair Plant, you have disruption cards. So instead of machine dupe being dead in your hand, you have a disruption card that you can use to help stall your opponent and get another turn and potentially come back and win that way. So it just helps out a lot there. But yeah, so I have notes here and I completely lost where I'm at. But so 2 card combos, like I said, 56% chance, that's not very high. Luckily we have 5 cards in our hand. Once you add in all the different combos, combinations, stuff like that, I only really did like 2 and 3 card combos because I'm not going to try and figure out all the 4 and 5 card combos when you just start talking random light monsters because there's going to be way too many. But you're looking at just over 80%, if not a little bit higher. That's a rough guess. So over 80% chance to make your Infinity do your board. You have like a 36% chance to also have Overflow with that. Hand trap percentages we'll get to really shortly here, but they're even higher than that. So yeah, keep that in mind. Another thing to keep in mind, Nibiru, Gamma, Soldier, that's Infinity right there. I wouldn't do it though. You don't, just because you can do something does not mean that you should do something. You need to play smart, mind your resources, and just keep pushing forward, but don't play, I guess stupid's the best word I can use for it, because Nibiru Gamma, that's enough to stop pretty much anything other than a control deck. So don't pitch your Nibiru and Gamma for your Soldier to make Infinity. It's better to just pass turn with Nibiru and Gamma in hand. Ooh, like I said, lost our spot. So we're a blind second deck, And let's talk OTKs then, because everyone wants to OTK. We're CYBERDRAGONs. That's what we do. We OTK. You have a 76% chance to open a 2-card OTK. So you add a machine dupe, the percentage really doesn't go up too high because you can already OTK without the dupe in most of these scenarios. The difference being dupe helps OTK through more monsters. Dupe helps OTK through more hand traps. Dupe, however, does not help you get through boards. You say, well, it baits out a negate, it stops a negate. True, but a well-timed hand trap could stop multiple negates from ever seeing the field. Do you want to stop multiple negates, or do you want to bait out one negate? I want to stop multiple negates. We're in a format where you have to open at least 2 hand traps going second, or you're not going to see success consistently. The percent of 3-card plus combos, though, for OTKs, it's over 93%. 2 and 3-card combos, it's just over 93% of hands can OTK. Again, that doesn't mean you should, and it doesn't mean you can. I guess can's in quotation, because by can we mean you're putting up at least 9,300 damage. If your opponent has defense position monsters, hand traps, disruptions, you're not going to OTK, just despite the fact that your hand potentially can, so do keep that in mind. Like I said, dupe, it definitely helps playing through hand traps. It helps put these percentages up, so it sounds like I'm making a really good case to play machine dupe, and I understand that. I was against cutting dupe for so long and fought it, and I actually was planning on doing a video for you guys on why the no dupe build sucked, and I was testing it just to build up some replays and show you guys that it wasn't a good idea, and I fell in love with it because I started winning so much more, and I really think everyone should at least try it. Try it. If it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for you. I get that, and I understand. I'm not here to push it on everyone. I would like, I guess, everyone to at least give it a shot and try it. Like we said, we talked about the brick factor, stuff like that. So moving forward, let's get into the hand traps so we can talk about the rest of the whole machine dupe, no machine dupe. We may or may not possibly work on a video comparing 2 builds almost side by side, have some replays of each versus top decks, whether we win or lose with them, try and get like 5 replays of each versus meta decks in a row, and then just show those 5. We might go 5-0 on both. We might go 1-4 on both. I don't know. We'll work on something and just kind of talk about how each deck felt and what they could use themselves. So most decks play at least 9 hand traps, or they struggle to go second. You could say Emancipator doesn't play hand traps. No, they don't, but CYBERDRAGONs, for me, I've never lost to them if I choose to go first. If I know I'm playing Emancipator, I go first. Infinity Overflow hand trap, good game, I win. They're not playing through 2 negates and a pop 3. Plain and simple. They're just not doing it. If you shotgun all your stuff, they might do it. You got to play smart. Don't just negate the first effects. Although, Emancipator, quick tip, that first summon, the first excavation, a lot of the times with Infinity, I do negate it and destroy it because it gets that extender off the board. It makes them use more resources just to get to the rest of their place. You still have another negate, and you have a multi-pop. They don't get to excavate, they don't get the free extender, and they don't get to shove a bunch of cards at the bottom of the deck to put them out of the way, meaning that their other excavations will be more consistent. A lot of people don't hit the first one. I personally have seen a lot of success by negating the first one, as long as I have another interruption. If you only have one, do not hit it. Wait until, I don't know, either Gallant or Union Carrier. Try to stop Block Dragon, because that's when they get 3 free extenders and it gets ridiculous. So, like I said, you pretty much have to open 2+ hand traps to really see success, and if you don't open any, you better open one of like the going second power cards, Dark Ruler no more, something like that. If you place 6 hand traps, your odds to open one are 57%. Okay, so just over half. But to open multiples, it's only 15%. That's not that good. Let's be honest, that's not that good. Another thing we do want to talk about, because it will be relevant, you never want to open more than 3 hand traps. If you play 6, it's a 0.1% chance to do that. So you're not going to do it. Well, shouldn't. Yu-Gi-Oh! Doesn't care about percentages, odds, statistics. I could play 3 hand traps and open 3 hand traps probably, because that's just how it goes sometimes. If you bump this up to 9 hand traps now, you have a 74% chance to open one, a 31% chance to open multiple. So you go up 17% to open a hand trap, but you double your odds to open multiple. That's a pretty big difference. And you still have less than 1% chance to open more than 3. That's why I suggest playing at least 9 hand traps. We saw in the LCS 3, Ryan Yu, fantastic player. brought Sky Strikers back. I forgot who all helped him with the deck, but he played 14 hand traps, which means he had a 90% chance to open one, 58% chance to see multiples, 22% chance to see 3 or more. And it's like, okay, so why don't we just play 14? Because that sounds really good. It showed success. Sky Striker is 1-card combos. We do not have 1-card combos, so in my opinion, 14 hand traps was too many because, like I said, we don't have 1 card. We need 2 to 3 cards, so we don't want to open more than 2 to 3 hand traps. Losing my place here. So I settled at 12. I found 12 to be a very happy medium. You can cover the majority of decks with these 12, and you can use more, I guess, generic is probably the best term I can use for it, Nibiru being the least generic one. But with 12 hand traps, you have an 85% chance to open one. 85%. So that's 30% chance higher than if you play 6, and it's 11% higher than if you play 9. So 11% higher chance to open one. But you have a 48% chance to open multiple. So it's only 11% to open one higher, but you have a 17% chance higher to open multiples. That is huge. This is why we don't play machine dupe. Yes, with machine dupe, you can still fit 12 hand traps, but you're going to struggle to fit the other cards that we're going to talk about later, and those cards are almost more important than the hand traps, and we will also talk about why. I love the 12 hand traps though too, because 3 or more hand traps you'll see it 15% of the time. If you remember, that's the same as seeing 2 with 6 hand traps. So you double your hand trap count, and now your odds of seeing 3 are actually the same as they were of seeing 2, but it's still just under 2% chance that you will see 4 or more. I kind of feel like that's not quite true though, because I've seen 4 or more a couple more times than I'd like. Luckily, we were able to like save a Nibiru in our hand as one of our light monsters to discard, and then discard a CYBERDRAGON monster. Get out our infinity that way after stopping and stalling our opponent. So things like that. What hand traps should we play? Well, we're going to go ahead and pick one of the obvious ones right away. Ash Blossom is very generic, hits basically every deck. You can use it to stop Sanguine. That's probably the best hit versus Eldritch. Obviously, Synchro Eldritch, if it's your only hand trap, you have to stop the Synchro combo. But if you have multiples, use a different hand trap. Any hand trap stops Synchro combo. Save the Ash for Sanguine if you can. Like I said, versus Adamantipator, you can't use it on Carrier, so you might want to hit it on Gallant, because sometimes they'll chain block the Block Dragon. Otherwise, if they end up getting Block Dragon to the graveyard and they don't chain block it, Ash the Block Dragon, please. They get 3 free extenders if you don't. So that's just something you do not want them to have. The majority of decks out right now, spam, so we're going to go ahead and main Nibiru too. A lot of people talk about siding it, but so many people main it, and I completely understand why. We can pitch it with Galaxy Soldier, we can pitch it with Naxter, and it's just, I don't know. I like it because other than Altergeist, pretty much every relevant deck summons 5 times. Dinos, obviously, if they pitch Miscellaneousaurus, their dinos won't get tributed, but you can still clear a VFD before your turn actually hits and not have to worry about VFD. I would rather stare down a Nibiru token than a VFD. Personal opinion, I guess. One more monster hand trap. We're going to go. This one does go ahead and carry a brick along with it, but I'm okay with that because opening a 1 of is just not. You can't be afraid of it. It's so impactful and so good. Cyframe Gamma, negate and destroy. Like I said, negate and destroy. It's, you negate it, you keep the extender, you keep playing. Kind of like when they negate our core and it stays on the field, and then you still contact off their monster and clear it out, and then attack over something, clear it out. Gamma, negate and destroy. Negate and destroy. How many times do I need to say that? Like, the card, it's just so good. Driver, yeah, it's a brick, but again, we can pitch it with Soldier or with Naxter. You can use it from the graveyard. Gamma combos off with Nibiru really, really well, and so does our next hand trap, so let's get to that before we talk. Oop, can't spell here. So we're going to go ahead and Infinite Impermanence. So Infinite Impermanence, Gamma, you open up with Nibiru. You just kind of let your opponent go full combo almost. You don't want them to have 2 negates on board, but to the point where you can let them get a negate and keep going and think that they're going to just win. Then you drop Nibiru. Of course, they're going to negate it. Then you chain your Gamma or Impermanent. Since Nibiru is not on the field yet, it is still in your hand. Negate their effect, and then summon your Nibiru. And if it was happened to be Gamma, since it resolves backwards, you summon your Gamma, your Driver. Nibiru then tributes Gamma and Driver, still giving 0 defense because you're going to put the token in defense. So they don't help contribute there at all, but it puts Driver into your graveyard, keeping your other 2 Gammas live for later. So quickly here, we are just going to check quick. Yep, we are still rolling, because I'm not going to lie, I'm a little nervous after yesterday when I did that, because it was a long time, a lot of talking, and I was getting tired. So I did make a few errors, so it actually worked out rather well. 5 card spots left. We already mentioned Kaiju. We're going to play a Kaiju. It's a searchable Kaiju that we have a built-in out to get rid of it. You have to play it. So hand traps, you don't really want to draw a hand trap as your turn, draw for turn. Unless, I mean, Ash can be useful, because if they have an effect that searches, summons from deck, dumps from the deck to the graveyard, you can use it, but it's not really an ideal card. Gamma can be really good, especially if they try to like Ash your emergency, or they set up a negate and you use your emergency and they try to negate it, then you can Gamma. So Gamma can be okay for draw for turn. Imperm's a good draw for turn, because you draw your Imperm, you force a negate, you attempt to negate something, they have to negate it, or they lose their negate anyway, so either way they have to do something about it. So Imperm is a good draw for turn, but so is a Kaiju. Kaiju, you don't necessarily want to open it in your first 5. We're actually playing 2 because I like seeing it without searching it. It's just a free out to so many big boards. The Buster Lock, obviously you can't use your extra deck to get access there, but you can search out the Kaiju, and Kaiju the monster that Buster's equipped to, and now you have access to your extra deck. Other cards, these 5 cards, we wanted cards that if you play them, they're going to out multiple negates, or at least one. Like all of these cards, it's not a, well, it's an extender. No, it's a card that's going to for sure be a 1-for-1 trade-off, clear out and out, or more. Pankratops, you can special summon it, you can attack over something, and then pop himself, pop something. So this can out 1 to potentially 2 different things. Another limited card, Mind Control, another one. You open Mind Control, you play it, your opponent, well, they either negate it or they lose a card, and then you're going to just link it off for one of our generic links. And finally, so with 5 though, too, just trying to make sure I got my percentages all right for you guys. Mind Control, like we said, forces the negate. Of these 5 cards going second, you have a 57% chance to see one. So, I mean, that kind of is good. We have an 85% chance to open a hand trap, 48% chance to open multiple hand traps, 90% chance of an OTK potentially, and a 57% chance to open one of these 5. So our percentages are looking pretty good. Our hands looking pretty good. Like I said, as long as the game goes by the rules of logic and percentages, everything would be really good. Too bad that does not happen. But our final one we're going to go with, Multi-Faker coming back to 3 really sucks. That has always been my least favorite deck to play with CYBERDRAGONs. Synchro Eldritch is probably the second. It's ridiculous, the recursion, everything they have. I tried Cosmics in the main, I tried Evenlies in the main, I tried so many different things, and I know this is a one-of, you don't rely on it. Let's just get that out there. You don't rely on it. I would absolutely love Reboot back to 3, but it's not, so we play it at 1. Main deck, I like it in the main deck still because it hits the best deck, Synchro Eldritch. It obviously still hits all Eldritch variants. It hits Salamangreat. They usually use Roar first, then you can reboot it, which coincidentally would turn off the Rage. If they use Rage first, you reboot it and you force the Roar. And then, like I said, Altergeist. It makes Altergeist to where you just one-punch them, win that turn, or at least put yourself in a really good position because they're going to be coming storming back with all those trap cards. But I really like Reboot because I feel like it gives the deck an advantage against the worst weakness being those trap stun back row decks. So that's about it for our main deck. Like I said, we talked the percentages a little bit at least. If you're wondering how I get them, if you just Google hypergeometric distribution, there's a link there you can click. You can put your deck size, how many successes, how many starting cards, how many of them you want to open, and it'll give you the percentages for that many, less than, more, equal to or more, equal to or less, all of that. Alternatively too, if you say search deculator, deck dash, I think it's, yeah, deck dash u, the letter, dash later, later, and click that link, you can actually put like 2 to X amount of categories. You can label one like remaining deck. So like for a core dupe combo, then the second one would say core. You'd set it to 3 copies in deck, 1 in hand, because there's 3 in the deck total, and you want to open 1, dupe, 3, and 1. You could even put the core at 6 if you're going to count emergency. So if you put it at 6, 3 for dupe, that's 9, you're playing 40. You set rest of deck 2, 31, starting cards at 5. Click it, you'll see it's 17% chance to open emergency core with a machine dupe. That's emergency or core, not and. And then obviously other things, you can do it that way, and then add up all your different combinations of hands and percentages and doing all that to get to where you need to be. Hopefully I'm thorough enough. Hopefully this is helping you guys kind of understand why we're not playing machine dupe. We're not playing machine dupe, one, because I don't want to say bricky, because bricky's not the best answer. It's not the opening hand that machine dupe makes the difference. It can, but we already did the math, and that's what, less than 1/5 of the time. So that's not much. It's not the opening hand. It's the mid game. It's the grind game that it really comes down to, and why it's better. And you can say, well, just OTK and win. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's a great mentality. Just OTK and win. That's why all these OTK decks are topping and doing good, right? So on to the extra deck. We're just going to go ahead and put the vague term in here, since all of our fusions fall into this category. We are going to have one extra deck spot that's kind of just a flex. Not really sure what I'm going to put in it yet. I have a few different ideas, talking with some friends and people about it to see where we're going to go. We'll throw one in it for the video, and I'll tell you guys why, but it's pricey and it's not really needed. So 2 Mega Fleet though. I like 2 Mega Fleet still. It comes up a lot where I Mega Fleet myself once, and then I want to have a second Mega Fleet. So alternatively, there are decks that every deck still uses links, but most of them you only really need 1 Mega Fleet, so 1's fine. If you're tight on space, you're playing Super Poly, you're playing stuff like that, 1 is fine, but I do prefer 2 in pure. We're playing 2 Kaiju, we're going to play 2 Fortress. Not only that, versus machine decks, they never expect you to have a second one. I've actually had a lot of people say that they didn't even know CyberDragons played any anymore, which I thought was odd. But 2, when people will tag out their Helka Fibrex, especially once you summon a CyberDragon, they'll chain it to, because they want to get around Mega Fleet, and go into like a Formula Sync run so they can draw a card, and then you can contact for Fortress. Well, you still have 2 Kaijus, you want another one to be able to out a different monster later, because you don't want to just Kaiju them, give them the big beater, and not be able to out it. 1 fusion spell, 1 fusion monster. Obviously you could summon it off of Nova too, but we're not going to go for that. We just don't need to. 1 Rampage Dragon. Card is ridiculous and obviously really, really strong, and you all know why. XZs, we're playing 1 Nova, 1 Infinity. I have not felt the need for multiples of either in over a year now. I've been playing 1 of each, which feels like forever. The only justification I could say for playing multiples would be Lithosystem from Dinos, and if they're smart, they will hit Rampage, they will hit Nova, and then they would hit Seeger. Obviously, if we had Cyberload, you could return your Nova and your Seeger back if you had multiple Rampages. But if you're playing 1 Rampage and 1 Nova, you got to hit those too, because most CyberDragon decks then do play Cyberload Fusion. So you can't get it back, I guess is the best way to put it. And then the 1 Seeger, because unless they have Lost World or a negate for the Seeger, they can't get over it very easily. We are playing 1 Synchro. We're not going to go with Boral Savage though, so you can put your pocketbooks away, because this one is a lot cheaper. We're not playing Savage because a lot of the time when you gamma on your turn, you're not going to have much for links in the graveyard, and if you do, it's usually like a Seeger, and you don't want to give that up. And if it's not a Seeger, it's probably a Link one or a monster with not much attack, so you're not really going to benefit from Savage's effects. Tenyi, when they activate a monster effect, you can banish it. It doesn't negate the effect, but you can banish their monster, which a lot of the time that does definitely impact their play and makes them have to work around it. Alternatively, if it destroys a monster by battle, it gains its original attack and it can attack a monster again. So, helps with OTKs. Something that people think no dupe builds lack from, which I guess I just disagree with. Moving into our link ones, we want the consistency guy, Almirage, because especially the 2 repair plants, you know, any our normal summons, Core, Hearth, Naxter, can't use Fear, but that's fine. Just to make our repair plants live to get the monster there. The protection effect I've had come up quite a few times to protect like Infinity, and you can just go standby phase, tribute it, Infinity can't be destroyed by card effects. One more link one we are playing. And it's actually another way to out a kaiju. It's another way to out a different card. It's non-destruction removal. Level 1, we have level 1s. Our combo involves putting a level 1 engrave and then also giving us the option to special summon it. So especially with kaiju, you kaiju them, put it in zone 2 or 4, get a level 1 out, Anima, equipped it. Now you have a 3300 beater. Otherwise you can force a negate or steal a monster and then just link this off, and it's non-destruction removal like we said. We do like to OTK, we can still OTK, so we're going to go ahead and play CYBERDRAGON Seeger and 1 Verde Anaconda. This is the main card why I felt like Machine Dupe is just really not needed. Before this came out, I still liked the no dupe idea, but it was a little bit harder and had to play around with it more. Once this came out, it really just made it so much easier to not play Machine Dupe because it gives us access to Overload Fusion from the deck as a power play. We have 3 spots left, as you can see, but we are also playing the Psy frames. So we're playing the Psy frames, so we want to be able to use them on our turn if we go into something. So we want our 1 copy of Lambda, and so that way we can still make our Gammas live on our opponent's turn. We make Infinity with Lambda very, very easily. Like Core Extender makes Infinity Lambda, so if you have Gamma, that's 2 negate and destroys now. This is one card that's going to be a little spicy for you guys. A lot of people are going to say it's gimmicky, and I understand. I thought so at first too, but it does have a lot of neat interactions. Hers, Naxter, Fear. That's your hand. We'll say that's your hand with 2 Nibiru's. You can make Infinity. Shoutouts to Yassine. He's the one who pointed me in the direction of the card because, well, it just kind of helps a lot of your awkward hands in getting another monster on board. So that's a nice thing about Puzzlemino, being able to turn your monster into a different level to keep extending and going forward. Now we have the 1 flex spot. So this flex spot is, you could have another Rampage and add like Cyberload Fusion. You can working on a official ruling for a card, and then we'll talk about that. If you're in the Discord, you saw it, but we'll get to that at a later point in time. We're just going to go ahead and throw this guy in there because it definitely helps versus Altergeist. And we can make it decently easy with our cards because you can mind control something, you can use a Fortress, you can use a Mega Fleet, you can use a Pankratops, or you can use a Nibiru to get into your BLS and have the protection effect. Alternatively, if you get Nibiru'd, the token is a level 11, you can use that token to go into it. So I guess that's pretty much it. Hopefully this is, I know it's probably not as in-depth as some of you guys were thinking, but I guess, I don't know. It's getting late. I've been working on this for a long time and can't really find other stuff to add in. I think I covered about everything I think about. We do spreadsheets on the meta decks to cover which hand traps to play, but we're working on a meta counter video or how to beat video segments, so I felt like that would be better served to put there and actually show videos of us playing against the decks as opposed to just talking about a piece of paper, because I just did that for you guys for 30 minutes. Nightmare Phoenix would be another card that you can put in the flex spot to pop a Floodgate. How do you go into it? Everything CyberDragon, Core, Link Almirage, summon another CYBERDRAGON. That's 2. Phoenix, boom. So I guess thanks for watching, guys. This is mostly how I decide to build a deck. Like I said, I watch combo videos on meta decks. I watch all kinds of stuff trying to see what they do, choke points, best spots to hit, but that's all kind of stuff we will cover in other videos very, very shortly. Please hit the subscribe button if you enjoyed it, if you stuck it out, because we appreciate it and it helps us out so much. We will also kind of work on a side deck tech choice video, because I feel like that's something that you guys could use, and not just use this in general. It's just a general term. Everyone likes to know how to counter a meta. But good night, guys. Take care, and can't wait until next time.